Anna Melikian, I am so happy to have you on the Death of a Workaholic podcast.
My pleasure to be here.
I loved getting to know you and your story over the last several months, but you shared something intriguing with me recently. And that was your relationship with work started very young at 9 or 10 years old, but your dad would have disagreed with that. Tell me more about that opening.
I always kid that my dad will disagree because as a kid, and even younger, I always loved to sleep into the morning. And that for my dad, he never understood that. For me and my brother, I would like to sleep until 10 and 11 o'clock in the morning. And he always called us lazy because of that. But that doesn't mean that you cannot be an workaholic that likes to sleep late.
Very, very true. And funny little nugget, it's totally normal for teens to have a later circadian rhythm. So there you go. So you worked really hard at 9 or 10. What did work look like for you then?
Yeah, the thing was, I had dyslexia that started to, when I was in lower school, with the spelling was an issue. I was very lucky at the time that my teacher saw that I was capable in other things, in math, in other stuff, and that was a very specific issue with the spelling, so she didn't hold me back. But because of, and at the time I didn't knew what I know today about dyslexia in itself, that is really a different way that our brain is wired. But at the time, what made me do was working harder to achieve the same things that my other colleagues, my other classmates, and that was tough at the time, but developed a work ethic that I became very proud of.
Mm-hmm. So there was a reason, a force behind you that meant you had to work harder, but it also was a badge of honor.
Yes, absolutely.
So your relationship evolved with work throughout the years. And as a child, it showed up like that. How did it show up when you moved into your career?
It started because my first career was as a student, and I became quite good on it. And then even in terms of earning money was still as a student because I got scholarships. So I got a scholarship to get my PhD and my master degree. So, and was by working really, really hard. And I did the part of my studies. I'm originally from Portugal. And then I went to do part of my studies in England and in Spain. And I had to write in another language that was not my mother tongue. So more hard work. But like I said, I always thought that if it was something that depended of my persistence and my hard work, I could do it.
Yep. Just work harder, pull yourself up, keep going, one foot in front of the other. Right?
I like to, sometimes when I speak of this nowadays, it's like, I use the image of the Energizer bunny, the ones of the battery commercial, the pink bunny with the little drum that keeps going and going and going and going, outlasting everybody else. That was me, and I was so proud of it.
Yes. And that changed at some point. And it sounds like you had a situation you encountered in life.
Yes, because, and this now when I look back, I remember that in my life, I always had people that had a different relationship with work that I had. And sometimes I was looking at them, how you could work more, you could do more. And now I look back, I should have learned more from them. But life is a journey. And for me, the wake-up call was, the big wake-up call was in, because I think there were warning signs and red flags, but the one that made me change my way was in 2016 when I was diagnosed with inflammatory breast cancer.
Mm. How difficult was that journey?
Yeah, because it's when this is a rare form of cancer. It's only 1 to 5% of all breast cancers, and it's quite aggressive. That was, and the strange thing with cancer is that we can be healthy in any other way, and then suddenly we have cancer. I still remember one of the doctors that I had in my team that I was speaking, can I do this? Can I do that? And he turned to me, you are very healthy. You can keep active. And I was thinking to myself, how can you say that I'm very healthy? And you just diagnosed me with cancer. But it's the contradiction that cancer is in so many aspects. But part of the thing is that when you realize the seriousness of the situation and it becomes your priority. There is no doubt that becomes your priority, and the number of medical appointments that we have to go through, the exams that we have to do to decide what is the best treatment and all that takes you out of you have to make a break. There is no other, at least I didn't saw any other option at the time, and it made me rethink everything. How do you say, when it's a situation that you don't know exactly what things are going to lead, and that is why I call it a wake-up call, make you rethink everything with your work and with your life and with your goals. And I kept working during my cancer treatments. I kept working because that was one of the parts in my life that I could keep some normality going, and I felt a human still, but I had to learn to work smarter and not harder. That was the wake-up call. At that level, I could not push because I was pushing myself to go through the treatments enough. And with the little energy that I had left, how could I use it in a way that produced the results that I was wanting to keep going?
Yeah. So I'd like to dig into one of these moments where you're looking at your work and you're looking at your treatments. And there's this moment where you're like, what am I going to do?
And I had to do choices and prioritize. I think I was used to until then I was not very good in prioritizing. And I was just putting more in my pile, just adding to, okay, I can do this later, I can work more hours, I can sleep less, and just kept going and going and going like the Energizer bunny. But with the cancer, that option was not there because the energy is not there. Like I was saying in the beginning, the quantity of in the beginning of exams and things that you have to do, you really have to clear your calendar. And that was the first. I have to decide what I could keep going, what I had to let go. And some projects that I was involved, I had to say, no, I cannot be more involved. And some opportunities that I had at the time, I say, no, I cannot do that. That was something that I was not used to do. I was used to take advantage of any opportunity that show up. But what I realized is that if I kept focus on the things that I chose, I could still make an impact.
So I want to dig into no, because we don't really like the word no all the time. What did you do to be able to understand what you say no to? And how did you make peace with saying no?
At the time I said no to the things that I felt that I could not give my all. When I get in a project, I like to go full in. So there was a new opportunity that happened at the time of an association that I belonged to lead the association for the next year, that I felt that I will not have the energy or to do that. So I spoke with them and they absolutely understood. So that was an easy decision to make. Another group that I was part of, the teaching coaching team, I knew that was difficult to keep the calls that I was supposed to be doing. And I spoke with the person having that, and he was super, how do you say, he really was amazing in supporting me. And he said, don't worry about that, we'll cover you. And I kept working with them just in the minimum, because they were so supportive, and they really took a lot out of my plate. And then I focus on one of the projects, business that I had, that I could be more behind the scene, not to be so front on camera, and I still could contribute in a way that was valid, but more at my own timing.
So you're talking about a lot of human compassion here.
Oh, yes.
That people leaned in and found ways to move forward with you. How did that feel?
Felt good. How do you say? I had built before that moment. I had built a lot. I had deposited a lot in the being a great teammate and a great supporter of the organizations that I was involved and working to the partnerships that I had. So in the beginning I felt, okay, they have my back. I had their back for so long. They had my back now. That felt really good to have the support. Yeah. They really step into the occasion. And that was a rewarding thing to see that people were there for me.
That's awesome. Because sometimes, speaking, personally, that can be hard to recognize that all that deposits you've made over those years of working hard, actually, you can ask for something in return for that. So
and I'm not a very good, how do you say, I prefer to be in the giving end than in the receiving end. I suffer from that too. But they made it easy for me to be in the receiving end. And I really appreciate that how they dealt with it.
That's amazing. And is there anything that was hard to say no to?
Yeah. At the time, the thing about diagnosing or a situation when it's a situation like cancer or other situations that people go through that are of the same type, and sometimes can be even a divorce or something with our kids, suddenly priorities become very clear. So in that sense, is what we say yes to and no to is easier because we have clarity about priorities. And for me, the priority was to do whatever was in my power to get better, to go through the treatments and I was wanting to keep living my life as normal as possible in the meanwhile. So that make the decisions easier.
Well, I'm so glad you're with us here today.
Yes, me
and
too.
That you thrived in the face of all that. So how did that clarity around priorities follow you through after you got to the other side of this?
And that is, we have to remember as human beings, it's very easy to go back to old patterns. And yes, when you are doing the treatments, you have limited in time, you have to schedule the things. And I learned how to schedule the treatments and on Thursdays, because I knew that I was crashing during the weekend and then to recover. So I started to learn how to plan my schedule around the treatments, and it worked. And even after the high intensity of the initial treatment of chemo, I knew I managed to navigate that time, and then takes another long time for us to really recover our energy. But when I was recover my energy and go back to what was before the treatments, I start to see myself slipping in the old habits. And it takes a little bit, I think there is where it takes I don't know what name to call, but for me, for one side, yes, I was wanting to just almost delete that time in my life and go back to what was before. But it was also, and me speaking to myself, what can you learn from this? Mm-hmm. And what can you learn from this experience to build a better future? And I already were familiar with productivity, with high performance, but I start to look at it and doing it with a different angle. And what I realized that was possible to achieve the same results in a more clever way. So it's not that we don't work hard, and I work hard nowadays still, but I try to be much more strategical.
And what are examples of some of those clever ways?
Is the plan, how do you say, is very easy for somebody that likes to work that we do, or somebody that takes loads of self-esteem and value from working and being busy, to get busy with the wrong things. Or just busy by the sake of being busy and not producing the things, or not being investing the time, or keep putting for later the projects that are going really to change the things in the long term. I like I love they call it the I think it was Steve Covey that in his book, The 7 Habits, popularized the concept. He didn't invent it, I think, but he popularized the 4 quadrants of productivity. The Eisenhower, exactly. Mm-hmm. That you have the first quadrant that are important and urgent, the second quadrant that is important but not urgent, and then I forgot the order of the ones below that. One is they are not urgent and not important, and not urgent but not important. Mm-hmm. And I absolutely spend a lot of time in these lower quadrants, doing just what we can call busy work, and work that I absolutely could delete or delegate. And realizing that when I had to be smarter in the use of my time really helped me to let go of that much easier. And I still can fall into it, but it's much easier when I'm aware of it to let it go and do something about it. And I spend now much more time in the top quadrants of what is important.
That's amazing. And so kind of going back to that moment where what you needed to say no to came into clear focus. How did what you needed to say yes to come into clear focus?
And again, I think it's not a moment, it's a process. But it's still, how do you say, I really integrate systems and planning. Nowadays, I like to speak about the importance of pause. There is a quote that I absolutely love that is between stimulus and response. There is a space. In that space is It's the power of choosing our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. So between a stimulus and response, there is that space. But in order for us to see that space, we have to learn how to press the pause button. Because it's by pressing the pause button that we see the space that allows us to choose our response and allow us to grow and to have some freedom. So I really had to learn how to press the pause button, and being used to be so busy trying to do everything. We don't give ourselves the chance to press the pause button. So one of the big shifts that happened for me at many levels was to learn to press the pause button. And nowadays, I really see that we have 3 types of pauses. The macro pauses is like the cancer was a macro pause that make me reevaluate everything. But can be a macro pause, can be reading a book, going to a retreat, working with a coach. We stop as a considerable amount of time to reflect about where we are and what we want to learn. Then we have the scheduled pauses. That is like planning the day, starting every day, planning the day, or even in the day before, or a journaling or a gratitude thing. And I start to develop those scheduled pauses, train myself to respect those scheduled pauses. And now I see that by doing macro pauses and scheduled pauses, we get mentally fit to press the pause button when we have the micro pauses, the mini ones, that is when we have the trigger that we have the tendency to go to a certain response. Now I'm able to press the pause button most of the time and decide, no, I'm not going to hold habits anymore. I want to do something different.
I love this, Anna. I love it. And I love it because I was actually laughing with someone today about what our parents told us when we were younger that we didn't want to hear. And
Yes.
one of the things my mom always told me is take a deep breath, Jenny. And ironically, I have found out this year it is the single best way to integrate the micropause.
Yes, and I will teach you a trick there.
Ooh, I'm excited.
Because the advice that there is a lot of take a deep breath, but what usually happens when you say take a deep breath, people, is like inhale deep. If we are under stress, if we are under pressure, we are breathing at the top of our lungs. We have a lot of residual air in our lungs. Just imagine a cup full of water and it's almost full. So if you say to somebody, breathe deeply, we physically can't. There is no space. What is more efficient and smarter to do is empty the cup first, empty our lungs first by exhaling fully until we engage the muscles in our belly, and then we can breathe deeply, easier. It's a small shift that can be very powerful results.
I love that. And for everyone listening, I hope you stopped and paused and emptied your lungs.
Yes, it's like, imagine that you are a little kid, like blowing out all the candles in the birthday cake, even the ones that are the tricky variety, the ones that reignite. You just want to blow all that air out, and then automatically is easier to breathe in.
That's amazing. And when we do that, we feel that deep sense of grounding that stops that response.
Yeah, we are going from the sympathetic nervous system to the parasympathetic mode that is more relaxing. So it's a very, breath work is powerful. If we learn, we can check if we are nervous with our breath. It's just by counting. If we are like breathing to a rhythm, two in, two out, we are in a stress mode. We have to go to at least 4 in, 4 out to be in a more relaxed flow state.
I'm just enjoying this. It just feels good, Anna. Sometimes it's good to just feel good.
Yes, absolutely. But it's small things, I think, and one of the things that I love about your work is that you are bringing awareness to this of workaholism, that our tendency about working, how we can leverage it in so many ways.
Yes. Yeah. And so you had a really great, like, if we kind of go back, I'd love to know, how did you stop believing that working really, really hard was the only way to deserve success?
Was realizing that I was not achieving things, and like I always say, I was successful for many ways of measuring success. PhD in psychology, running a nice online business, a wonderful house with amazing views, nice husband, wonderful daughter. But I was working late into the evening, sleeping less than 5 hours at night, trying to do it all, not stopping for a moment. And I realized that if I learn to tap into the human potential in the high performance, working smarter, not harder, working in a way that was more strategical, I still could achieve my goals, but not being in that waking up tired every day. And I could enjoy life more, and I could have more time and energy to enjoy my family, to travel, to exercise. And even now I managed to read one book per week because I develop habits that are in the service of a life that I want to live.
That's amazing. So if we stop right now and you were to say, what is your definition of success right now? What would your answer be?
Live the life fully. And for me, it's by learning, creating a positive impact, and enjoying the journey.
I love that. Thank you so very much, Anna. Anna does amazing work. She's the host of the Mindset Zone podcast. She is a speaker, and she combines extensive research, life experiences, and 2 decades of work in human potential to help others cultivate mental wellness while increasing their effectiveness and strengthening their relationships. I am so honored to have you here, Anna.
My pleasure.